What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today, some long-awaited stuff that we need to get started on, guys. And you'll notice the shop has kind of been moved around a little bit. I got the Suburban outside, but we need to do some assembly on the front of this suspension because, guys, here's what's getting ready to happen. My painter is getting ready to get some of these holes, some more holes filled. He's gonna fix these areas where maybe a jack has been in place over the years, flatten those areas out, and get it ready for, I'm gonna have it powder coated. He's not gonna paint it actually, but guys, what we need to do is we need to make sure that all the front suspension fits, lines up, does what it's supposed to do before we blow it all back apart and take it out to him, if that makes sense. So today, what I'm planning on doing is, you guys have seen in the past videos, we haven't got the brake lines accomplished yet because I really need it under the car to test fit some stuff. And that's all gonna happen too before we get it powder coated, because I don't wanna drill holes in a frame that's been coated. So we got the lines ran for the back. We've got all the suspension installed in the back. Pretty straightforward. You guys know I did have it welded in place. I also had some spots welded up that normally are open here. And we've got some more stuff, which we'll talk about later. But like I said, today we're focusing on the front suspension. I wanna get the bags in place. I wanna get the upper and lower A-arms in. I wanna get the drag link. I wanna get the tie rods. You guys see that stuff sitting down there. I got all new parts, basically. So here's where we're gonna start. We're gonna start rounding up some parts, getting them opened up and set out here, and we'll kind of talk about them as we're going through. But yeah, that is the goal. We need to get this thing put together and on the ground. Well, I guess maybe not on the ground, but put together with the airbags in place. Where I think we're gonna start is with, I got a new power steering box. I actually ordered this through Ridetech. It's actually a Borgson, I guess is how you pronounce it, but pretty standard box for power steering. Guys, some people say they have good luck with this, the CPP. I don't have a preference really. This just made sense when I bought the other. So it does come with new bolts, and it comes with some sleeves. I'm not really sure what that's about, but let's go over there and see if we can at least get it started in place. It's heavy. This is interesting because the originals are carriage bolts. I'm not really sure how this is gonna fit in comparison. Looks like it lines up pretty good. Let's give it a shot here. I might use the original bolts. I don't know, we'll just have to see. Like I said, it came with new ones. I'd like to use those if possible. It does say, one of the instructions specifically says that you don't want any contact with the frame, and if you'll notice, it's rubbing on the frame. But that's, look, this is the kind of stuff that we need to know before this all goes together. So you can see, I don't know if you guys, well, you probably can't see it, but it's rubbing on the frame right here. So I'm gonna have to probably clearance that a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and snug this thing down and we'll mark that spot. And we'll have to take some out of it. Let's see if we can get it snug down here. I may grab a washer for these when I go back together, just because, like I said, this used carriage bolts before. I don't know, we'll see. Perfect size, that's for sure. So the bad news is I can't get that thing to seat the way it's supposed to until I clearance it. So that top bolt won't allow me to pull it in tight, but that's fine. We know we need to clearance it. That'll be something we have to do, but let's move on. I think we're gonna try to grab, I decided to go to CPP, and I'll try to list, if I can get a link to this stuff, guys, I'll try to list it in the description, but CPP makes the idler arm, the drag link, the pitman arm, all that stuff is one unit. So what I would like to do is try to assemble this for a couple reasons. One, I need to see if the motor, the oil pan is going to interfere with stuff. And so that's why another reason why I want to get all this stuff together, aside from, you know, like stuff like this where we know we're going to have to make clearances here and there. Now, unlike the other, this actually has a carriage bolt, and when I say carriage bolt, that's what I call it. It's got a square head on it, and so we're just gonna put this, I think it faces, yeah. Get these out of it. And it goes on the inside, the bolts come in from the outside. These guys will go in like this. There we go. Well, this is going to be fun when we're going back together, trying not to scratch up paint, you know. Maybe it goes, oh, I guess maybe it goes like this. That doesn't make sense. Seems like it should go, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Okay, that does go like that. All right, we'll snug this up, and then maybe we can grab the drag link or something. Well, the next thing I was gonna do is I was gonna put the drag link on, but guys, here's what I did. With CPP, you have the option to upgrade to a bearing, like a roller style bearing. And it's supposed to, you know, articulate a little smoother. But when I took this apart, what I realized is that my new drag link actually has a bushing already pushed in it. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to push this stupid thing out with my vise. I'm hoping that I can do that. I don't see any other way around it. The problem is gonna be, that's gonna be snug. I really need a press out here to do this, and I may have to take this to a buddy's shop. We may have to just call a pause here on this part and move on or something, but I'm gonna attempt to push it with my vise and see if I can get it out. The problem is once we get that one pushed out, that'll be the hardest part, because guys, you could do it with a bench vise, pushing in the center here. The problem is there's really not enough to grab on the outside. I need to put something bigger on the outside here. I don't know if I have anything that will fit there, but we'll just have to see. I may have to cut this outer ledge off to make this happen, but I really don't think pushing these in will be a problem once we get those old ones out, but we'll just have to see. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to take that to a buddy's house to get that bearing knocked out, but we're gonna move on to the bag. So guys, there is a T10 screw in the top of the bag when you get it. I've got this all the way counterclockwise. Doesn't say that in the instructions, but on my old other Ridetech stuff, that's the way it's been. So I don't think it really matters because we're not taking that out. We're gonna take this nut off. We're gonna take this off, and then this goes in from the bottom. You can see there's this guy. That should be the way it goes in. What we're hoping is that we made enough clearance to actually make this happen. Now remember, back when I did this, you have to have a 3/4 inch hole up top, guys. All right, so we'll get this back on. And this is a nylock. So for now, I'm just gonna put it in place. I feel like, golly, we got a ton of clearance here. I don't know on the front. We probably won't know for sure until we get the A-arms on. So I'm gonna do this on both sides. We'll get these bags just mounted. And I did not pay attention to which way the airline's going, guys. We'll figure that out. We'll decide which way we want that facing at another time, because we can go through the subframe and whatnot with that, but I might snug this down. In fact, I think I will. I'm gonna go ahead and snug that down. I'm not really sure how much these bags collapse, but we'll just have to check that when we get some weight on this thing. But I've got these snugged up, and you can see they have this nice little pivot on them, so they can only go so far. Pretty nice. I mean, will they hold up? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But I guess at this point, guys, we're gonna grab either the upper or lower A-arm, possibly the upper since it's right here, and see if we can get it in place. So after staring at these things for a couple minutes, I think I figured out which goes forward. I think the Ridetech sticker goes forward. That's not how it says in the instructions. It doesn't even actually name the sticker, but the shape of them, which you're never gonna pick up on camera, just look at the instructions that come with it, kind of tell you what's what there. But we're gonna get this guy slid on. Now, look, it's not that imperative right now, but I do have these marked. The passenger side on this thing had shims before, and so I'm gonna put them back in there, but you don't necessarily have to, if that makes sense. So we've got 2 shims that were in this side here, and we'll just put them in there for now, just so we have the bag empty, I guess. But then we are going to put our lock washers on, which we're gonna have to replace, guys. As we go back together with this, like the final time, we'll be getting some new nuts and bolts, cleaning some stuff up, but this will give us an idea. So we're gonna get this one on. I've already got the other one on. Now guys, I'm running into a little bit of an issue. It is hitting the steering box, which is kind of weird. But I'm gonna talk to Ridetech about that, since that's one thing good about buying, you know, if you buy all your stuff from the same company, like I bought the box from Ridetech, I'm gonna see what their solution is for that. What I may do is loosen up the box, and I don't want to cross thread these, so I really don't want to replace them. There we go. Some of them are going to be easier than others. But anyway, like I said, I don't want to replace them. I'll take you guys over there and show you. As a matter of fact, you can see I've got that other arm mounted right there, and you can see how close it is. It's actually touching the box where it's setting right now. So that is not going to work. And so what, like, I think we'll do is, like I said, I'll talk to them and see what their solution is for that, and we'll go from there. But I am going to go ahead. I'll probably loosen the box up a little bit, kind of let it move back. And honestly, guys, if it would move back just a 1/4 of an inch, we wouldn't have to clearance much, and it wouldn't hit that. So I don't know. Now for the bottom A-arm, guys, this one's a little easier because it has a P stamped on it for passenger, but it also has the sway bar mount in the front. But we're gonna put this, well, say we're gonna put it in place. We're gonna have to spin that somehow. That is not the right. Needs to face the other way. Okay, that's fine. We'll have to spin it over, and we'll use the stock bolts for it. This is another spot where I'm going to be buying new bolts, because these things are they're old. Now I got it spun over a little bit. See if we can get them started. Like I said, I don't know what happened here with the bolts when this thing was originally assembled by whoever repainted it and redid this thing, but they just got like a hodgepodge of bolts here, I'll tell you that. I'm gonna have to spin it over a little bit more. I'm just using a screwdriver, but you can see here, these guys go up in the bottom, Kind of using my foot to keep it in place. Get this one started. Get the one in the back or one on the other side. Same thing, just comes in from the other side. Once we get them started, I'm gonna snug them up. I'm not worried about torquing anything. I don't even know if there's torque specs in the instructions on any of this stuff. We may just have to kind of wing it. These all have, well, about half of them had lock washers on them, the other half didn't. I'll get the back ones in. Well, the next thing I'm doing is I'm trying to put the shock into the bottom A-arm once we got those snug down. Now, it comes with these inserts, these aluminum inserts that go into the shock, right? So like this. So they're tapered. And the tapered end sets in the shock. And here's my problem. With that in there, we still have a lot of room to cover before we get to, you know, I don't want to bend that. So for now, I'm using this. I'm going to have to talk to them about this as well. Not really sure what the deal is with that, but we're going to use the middle hole. That's what it says to use. I don't really know why they have so many. I don't know if that's more of a looks thing or what. Maybe I'll ask them that too. But, oh, of course I forgot to put the washer on. So I'm not going to snug this one down. I'm just going to leave it loose because I don't want to bend anything. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen if I get all crazy here. All right. And a washer and a nut on the back side. And these are nylocks. So like I said, not going to put that on there yet or like snug that down. Just I'm afraid that I need a different insert. But now we can grab a spindle is what I'm hoping, and see if we can get it on. Now for the spindle, I'm kind of excited about these guys. This is a product from CPP, and it is a C6, C7 style spindle. Kind of how it works is it's a lowering spindle that obviously takes a sealed bearing. So it's a 2-inch drop spindle. So you can see this is the right-hand side or passenger side. And it will fit in the stock location, right? So we should be able to get it started here. Tell you what, let's take them both off. See if we can start at the same time. Looks like we can. And we'll thread these back on. I may snug these down. Probably a dumb idea, because then I'll have to bust it all back apart, but maybe it'll work. Yeah, it's pretty good. I may not snug them down. This one. But, okay, so that's how that works. And what the cool thing about this is it's a direct bolt-on C6, C5 brake. So you don't have to like go buy anything or do anything differently. It's a direct bolt-on. So that'll be nice just to have that. This up here bothers me a little bit. Maybe it goes in a little deeper than that, but sure doesn't look like it's seating all the way. Next thing we're going to put on before we put the actual hub assembly in are these steering arms. You know, the 55 uses a steering arm, and you can reuse the ones off your factory spindles, guys, but I sold the factory spindles. I got these from CPP as well. They're relatively cheap, come with new hardware. And if you notice, they have a castle nut on them, so they come with a cotter key or cotter pin. And we're not putting cotter pins in anything right now. We're just, like I said, we're testing. So we'll get it on, and then I think we'll see if we can get the hub assembly and get it started because I do have hubs, obviously, to go in this. And these are site specific, guys. These, they're gonna kind of make sense because the piece that swings and hits on your A-arm right there goes towards the bottom, if that makes sense to you. I don't know if you can see that. But now, look, there's no instructions on what to torque these at, but I figured, you know, I told you guys I wasn't gonna torque anything. I figured this, we're not gonna be taking this back apart, right? The arm, the steering arm that goes on the bottom of the spindle. So I went ahead, I torqued it to 50 foot-pounds. Guys, like I said, there's no instructions, but it does come with a cotter pin. Now, I did notice that the spindles themselves came with bolts for this, but I've chose to use these instead. And so I torqued them to 50, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put the pins in because we will not be, I'm not gonna take this back off of the spindle. And I may even go ahead and torque the hub, which I'll show you in a second. That's my next step, but just kind of wanted to let you guys know what was going on here. They have a castle nut on them, and so it makes sense to not pull these back apart. Some of this stuff, like I said, we'll be able to leave, you know, assembled. Now for the hub bearing, you have your bolts here. The problem is this top one, because it's a drop spindle, you can't get it in without loosening this up. So I'm gonna have to loosen that upper ball joint up. I don't think I have that size over here, but maybe I can get one of these to, I was hoping it'd be loose. All right, I'm gonna have to loosen that one up, get that in there. But guys, here's the deal. It has, I don't know if this is just to keep the bearing from seizing up, you know, kind of rusting in place, but this does go in between. And I'm torquing these to about 130 foot-pounds. Look, it's a hex head, so you can't, you know, it's gonna be tough if you ever have to take these things out and replace them. I really wish that I would have thought about this before I put this together. But this bottom one, you're gonna have to undo the upper, torque it, and of course the bearing just sets into place. It's not bad, but we need to get this done first. I'm gonna use some Loctite on these as well. So you can see what I'm talking about. I had to loosen that upper. And then guys, I'm using, what is this, 10 millimeter to tighten this thing up. Unfortunately, this is the only way to get it. I really like to tighten these when the spindle's hooked up, but sometimes you can't, you know, when you do what you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these torqued. Like I said, I'm trying to get to 130, which is what a stock GM spindle goes to. I don't know that I'll be able to get that because they're generally a 15 millimeter, so you can get a little more grip on those. These guys kind of want to start to strip when you get to that amount. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Whew, no way I'm gonna get to 130. I'm not sure what I'm at, but it ain't 130, I'll tell you that. Well, I was able to get to 120, and that's just as comfortable as I feel. Guys, look, it's got Loctite on it. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get this back on there just temporarily. I'm not gonna knock these into place or torque these down yet. We're not quite ready for that, but you notice it does have ABS if you want to run ABS. And as far as the rings, like I said, I think that's just to keep it from rusting. I don't necessarily think you have to have those in place. They do offer a kit that spaces it out to get your track width the same. But guys, I'm gonna go grab the brakes over there because I do have a set of mock-up brakes because I'm planning on running Z51 C6 brakes. And it does, these spindles come with bolts to bolt that on the bottom, which I obviously didn't need because I bought new steering arms, but it also comes with the brake bolts, which is good. Try to swing you over here so you can see what's going on. But wow, look guys, I know these brakes are used and we're not planning on using anything but the calipers. I want to make sure that everything lines up like it's supposed to. So that's the rotor. And you'll notice that my caliper, I'm going to take the old brake pads out because we don't need those. Been sitting over there for a while. So we've got, it actually came with the stock bolts, which we could use as well. So remember, this should be the front right because the you should always have your bleeder up on top. And so I don't know if I want to use these or the others. I'll use these for now with the washers. They've got some thread locker on them too. Golly, they line up perfect. Aside from, obviously we need to tighten them down, but I'm gonna use this adjustable end wrench just to get us where we need to be, but I'm excited they fit. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna go get a socket. I got those on, and man, they line up like spot on. They're right in the center, guys. Obviously this moves around a little bit, but that is what we were going for. You know, this is the brake kit that I wanted to use. So really now what I need to do, and I don't really want to, is I need to pop one of my wheels out of the box and make sure that it's gonna clear this brake. I think that it will, but I guess we need to test it. Well, guess what? It fits. And it fits. I pulled this because I have the brake pads out. I pushed the caliper out as far as it could go. And we have no clearance issues whatsoever. Now, guys, you can't run a very big wheel on the front of a 55. They just don't have a ton of area to pull. But this looks nice. We're not gonna have any problems hitting anything. It's clear on that lower steering arm. Yeah, but this is an 18x7. So, you know, I'd like to have, I really wanted a 20 in the front, and I probably could do a 20x8 maybe, but guys, that extra inch of width may cause problems like rubbing on the front. So it seems like most people go with the 7-inch wheel on the front of a 55 unless they have some aftermarket wheel tubs or a different frame or whatnot. But those things look awesome on it. I'll have to tell you, I really like the look of that. It's gonna look nice. Well, I got a couple things accomplished off camera. For one, I got that bearing pressed out at my neighbor's house. And because I got it pressed out, I got the new one pressed in, and guys, it is working. So what I've done now is, you can see I've got the pitman arm on the bottom here. Now, the downside is this is like, I don't know, 33 millimeter or something crazy. So I'm not gonna be able to tighten it down. I mean, I probably could with a wrench. I think I have a wrench that big, but I'm not really gonna concern myself with that right now because it's on there. Here's ultimately what I'm trying to get accomplished. I'm trying to get this in place. I don't even have to necessarily mount this yet. That's upside down, which is great. But the reason I'm trying to do that is I want to get an idea of how is this going to interfere with like oil pan, right? If that makes sense. So I'm not 100% sure I'm going to take this apart right now and take the spring out. I guess I could carefully do that. There's just a little cotter pin in here. Once you get that out of the way, you can turn this and take this apart, but it looks like I've got it upside down. actually. So that won't work. So I need to take this off of here, and I snug that down. All right, and flip this over, and then hopefully we can at least get maybe the tie rod ends kind of loosely threaded into place and give us an idea of where, you know, how things are gonna set. And then I would like to take my motor at some point and set in here, make sure we got ample clearance. But I'll do that off camera. I'll flip this over, and then we will we'll cut back in when we move to the bolt or the inner and outer tie rods. Well, I've got it kind of set up here where it seems like it makes the most sense. So this will give me an idea of how, you know, far we need to go. Looks good. Seems solid. I think that'll be pretty solid, but look, we don't have anything tightened down. We don't even have the box up against the frame yet because it won't clear. But let's move on to the tie rods. So we've got tie rod end. I think they may all be the same, but I'm gonna pop these open and we'll go to that next. So now onto the tie rod ends. We've got an inner, which is the longer one, and we've got an outer, which is the smaller one. Then we have a couple jam nuts, and then we have an adjuster sleeve, this billet adjuster sleeve, which looks really nice. So this is ultimately what we're looking for. Now, keep in mind, if you look at these guys, you have more threads in one than the other. So it would make more sense to measure this. It looks like about 1 inch, but I'm gonna get my tape measure and thread this one in that much further than the other, if that makes sense. So I've got the jam nuts on there, you can see, and one side is reverse threaded, and what I'm trying to do is keep the Ridetech forward, if that makes sense. I mean, basically when it's adjusted, like the Ridetech would be forward. I don't know that you'll necessarily land there on the adjustment, but it seemed like that was the way it was meant to go together. So this would be this side, right? But like I said, I don't necessarily know that that's gonna matter because there's no way that'll line up. But either way, I'm gonna get the other one assembled, but I think it is a good idea to keep, you know, this one, however much longer this one is, I think threading it in. And here's why, because when you start to adjust it, we want it to be equally pushing them out, right? So I want the same amount left in this sleeve. So hopefully that makes sense to what, or, you know, hopefully I'm explaining it well enough that you understand what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna get the other one assembled real quick, and then we'll put those on. And I'm just loosely fitting these. I did go ahead and put the grease fittings in, the Zerks. So do that so you don't get any dust in them. Theory was wrong on the Ridetech facing a certain way. They're the exact same, so they're not gonna be, like the Ridetech's not gonna show forward. Okay, so here's what I did. I measured the difference, right? There is 3/4 of an inch of difference between the inner and outer as far as thread length. So what I did was I set this one at 1 inch, and I set this one at 1/4 inch. So now we have equal amounts of thread in the sleeve, meaning once we get this hooked up, if you're holding both sides, so if both sides are being held still, when you're adjusting this, the same amount of thread is coming out of both sides. I don't necessarily think you have to do that, but to me it's a good idea because ultimately, guys, if you had them threaded in equally, what would happen is you could get to the point where this one had a lot left and this one was just about to fall out. So in my opinion, that's the best way to do it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this mounted in the drag link and on the spindle and see kind of what we've got. I think we'll have to make some adjustments. I don't think there's any debating that we're gonna have to adjust it. I just, like I said, I set it at 1/4 here, and I'm measuring the gap, 1/4 inch here, 3 and 1 inch here. So let's try it. So it turns out I'm pretty stinking close. Look how straight that is. Now we don't know where the steering shaft is. I'm just basing it off of, it's pretty close to centered in between the A-arms, see the lower A-arms. So I think we're really close there, guys, but we won't really know until we get a little bit more of it together. Like I said, we're just test fitting things. I just snug these down by hand. No sense in getting them crazy tight. I'll probably take this all off as one unit. So I don't know, it may make sense to go ahead and tighten them, put the cotter pins in them, but if not, let's get the other side on, and then I don't know what's next. We may move on to the sway bar. We've got to drill some rivets here to get the sway bar out, but I'm going to knock this other inner and outer tie rod out, put that in, and then we may move to the sway bar. Now, in order to get the sway bar into place, we got to get this plate in here, and I don't really know. I haven't looked at the instructions yet. I just know this is where it goes. It goes right here on the frame, but in order to make it fit like it's supposed to, we've got to cut this rivet out or knock this rivet out. So here's what I'm gonna do. It's easier to access for me on the bottom side. I'm gonna straighten this out at some point, but we need to cut an X, and I'm gonna cut in the bottom, and then I'm gonna use my air chisel to chisel the head of it off, and then we'll knock it out. And that'll give us our alignment point for this. So this is for the sway bar mount. You're gonna have our D-ring mount on one of these. It's gotta be that one. I just don't know whether that's which way this faces. We'll look here in a minute, but obviously you got two of these, one for each side, and we need to knock the rivet out on both sides. And then once we knock the rivet out, we should be able to see kind of where the hole needs to be, the back hole, because we are gonna have to drill a hole that's not currently in the frame. Show you what I did here. See, I cut an X on both sides. And now all I'm gonna do is take my air hammer there with the chisel on it. You can see I already got the chisel on. We'll knock the head of that off, and then we will use the punch, so this guy here, to knock that out up through the top, and we'll have it out of the way. And then, like I said, we'll be able to mark for our hole where we need to drill to get the other piece installed. Well, a little change of plans, mainly because, see how crinkled this is right here? I don't know if you guys can see that. See that? This won't set flush. So what I'm gonna have him do is have him flatten this out when he's got it. So we're just gonna have to skip the sway bar for now. I don't necessarily need that to know if anything else fits. I was just gonna do it while I had it apart. So not a big deal. Like I said, I'll have him bend that back out. That's the whole reason. We're gonna fill some more holes, and he's gonna, make this look nicer. So anyway, what do I want to do next? Guys, so here's the deal. I may mark this area here, pull this guy off, and heat this up and maybe dent it down a little bit so we've got clearance. I really don't want to grind it there, but I think we can heat it and just kind of dimple it down a little bit in order to give us clearance for that. So I guess really what we need at this point is we need to get the motor with the oil pan on it that I'm going to try to use. I don't actually think it's gonna work, but we'll try it anyway. Golly, I don't know, it may work. We'll just have to see. We'll give it a shot with this the F-body oil pan, but I think it's a little too, I think it comes too far forward to work with this. As you can see, things have changed quite a bit since I stopped filming that last cut. It's been a couple days, obviously. But we have wheels and tires on this thing. Now, I think I showed you guys the wheels a while back, but these are Billet Specialties Legends series, and I just love the look of these wheels. Now, here's the sizes. We're gonna go through that, and then we'll kind of talk about where we're at on this. I told you we were gonna put the motor in next, but had some issues. Look, these are 20 by 10 in the back, 18 by 7 in the front. The front of the 55s won't take a super wide tire, unless you go with maybe an aftermarket frame. Now, I probably could have went with an 8-inch, but you also notice there's a ton of positive camber in those fronts. So we're gonna have to definitely get some shims to pull those A-arms in. But guys, look, the tire size, I went back and forth with my tire guy because I wanted to keep it as close to the same amount of tire showing. When we got a 20 by 10 in the back, we got an 18 by 7 in the front, but I didn't want a big, huge tire in the front and a little bitty thing in the back. So we're about an inch difference as far as overall radius on the tires front to back. But on this 20 by 10, and this guy's is just like pretty much a no offset, right? So this is essentially, when you're ordering for a 55, you're basically ordering for like an S10 pickup. So if that tells you anything, but tire size in the back, I want to say it's a 275 35 20. Okay, so yeah, I know it's a pretty low profile, but I'm trying to get a certain look out of this thing. So that's the tire size. This is a Nitto, guys. I wanted something that didn't look like a truck tire, and Nitto, and I also wanted the same type of tire front and back. So I didn't want, you know, some oddball. I wanted to be able to get the sizes I needed in a tire, and Nitto offered that. So, and then in the front, like I said, 18x7 wheel, and this size 225, 45, 18. And so, like I said, guys, we're gonna have to get some washers or shims to pull these A-arms in a little bit. But at this point, we're done. As far as putting this together, now I'm gonna blow it apart. I'm gonna take it to my painter. He's gonna straighten out, you know, the little imperfections in the frame and whatnot, and we'll get the sway bar on. But this is kind of the process on building these cars and why it's not fast. I'm gonna take it apart. I'm gonna take it to him. He's gonna do his thing, fill some of these holes. I'm gonna put it back together. We're gonna get it under the car and kind of test fit where can I run brake lines where they're out of the way, where can I put fuel lines where they're gonna be out of the way, and I really need it under the car to do that. So I'm excited about doing that. But as far as the engine goes, look, my plan was to test fit the engine. These engines here have the truck oil pan on them, and while the truck oil pan goes really far down, it actually fits behind the steering of the 55, because that's the one thing about the 55 that sucks, is the steering is in the back, it's not in the front. So you have some oil pan clearance issues with it right there. So I was thinking I could use an F-body pan that I had, and I set it up in here, and guys, it's just not gonna work. So there's no sense in putting the motor with the truck pan, because we know it's not gonna work. But I was just trying to make sure that we had everything lined out before I took it apart, took it to my painter, and it's not getting painted. Like I said, he's just fixing the little wrinkles here and there in the frame. I'm gonna have this powder coated, but it's gonna be a little bit. But what I do wanna show you, and me and my son have been playing with Cam, is I want to show you the cycling of the suspension. So what I'm going to do is I'll put my tripod up here and we'll cycle the suspension up and down. I have a valve, well, I just have this guy, an air fitting on both of the front and the back, so I have to do it individually. But let me show you kind of the cycle. I'll probably have to put a brick on it. It's not heavy enough to bring it down without some weight on it. My son's Cam's been getting a kick out of setting on it while I lift it up and down. Now, you have no idea how many times I've been playing with this going up and down. It's be nice if we had one piece, but there's up in the front, and then I don't know if that's enough weight to pull it down, but no, it's not. And unfortunately, my connection here doesn't allow it to go quickly. But this thing gets stupid low in the front. You see how low it gets. I'll show you guys, I'll bring you in a little closer here in a minute, but so that's the front, and then the back, I think it's the same situation. I don't think those center blocks are heavy enough. So there's the back up. There's the back all the way down. So anyway, like I said, I want to show you the cycle, but look how low this thing is. Now it's got 2-inch drop spindle, but look how close the frame is to the ground here. So you can see what I'm talking about. You can't use that oil pan off the trucks. Guys, there's just no way it'd fit. But man, I love, this is gonna look so sweet. I'm so excited to see this thing done. I don't know what the frame clearance is here. I mean, it's not gonna lay frame, but I don't need it to. That tucks up, the rockers are gonna be pretty close to the ground, to be honest. And this is all completely laid out. You can't really drive it like this. In fact, Ridetech specifically says, hey, don't drive it with no air in the bags. But guys, this is where we're gonna end this video. Like I said, I'm gonna blow this thing apart. So you may or may not see it in the background. I'm taking it to him, I think this weekend. I don't know when this video is gonna post, but a couple things that we're gonna be doing. That's what this metal is. Guys, there's a plate that I ordered from a company that is kind of like a skid plate, and to cover any imperfections on the bottom of this front cross member here. And so it's all dented from people jacking it up over the years. And so instead of like trying to hammer that out, there's actually a plate and a reinforcement plate that goes under it. That's what's in that box. And then there is some closeouts that company also makes to close this out, just to make it look a little nicer. You guys know I already had these closed out. So, you know, when you're looking under the hood, it's gonna look, you know, way better than it did with the A-arms. I'm gonna have him close up several of these holes on the front side. So we've got just a better looking frame when you pop the hood and you're proud to look at it. Now I know, look, underneath these welds from the factory, I'm not gonna mess with those guys. You'll never be able to see them. They'll be on the top side. I'm not building a show car, but when I pop the hood, I want it to look a little nicer than what it looks right now. So anyway, like I said, we're gonna end the video here. Guys, I will list anything that I used in the description down below. The wheels, the tires, the kit that I'm using from Ridetech. I'm excited. So if you did enjoy this video, please, like always, smash that thumbs up button. Guys, if you are not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, ring that bell notification. That notifies you every single time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see us get this thing back, do some more test fitting.